Let's talk about insects and vacation rentals, okay? Maybe you have a vacation rental, maybe you've stayed in vacation rentals. We use the websites where you rent your investment properties to vacationers, and I am in one of those properties, and it is an ideal property for vacationers who come to our local beach. It really is. It is marvelous. It's in a nice setting with live oak trees. It's right across the street from the beach. It's steps. It literally takes you less than a couple of minutes to walk out of the park and across the road onto the beach. So it's really cool, and our guests love it, and they leave good reviews. It's one of those situations where it's hard to get a bad review, not just because we take care and maintain the property very well, but because it's just ideally situated. Okay, so what the occasional problem you can have in this environment, we're in southeastern coastal North Carolina. The problems you can have are with sugar ants. They're little tiny black ants, and cockroaches or roaches, what some people call palmetto bugs. That's a really prettied up name for them. They're cockroaches, but we haven't had those in a while because those are easily it's pretty easy to create a barrier for those, like the bifenthrin, the sprays, the granules you put down under the camper, around the camper. It tends to ward them off. They die when they're coming. So you might find a dead one that makes it inside, or a dying one. But typically we don't have an infestation problem with those. But the ants, they're so small and they're so resourceful. They can find their way in, and they trace the scent of food. They find food. So if someone comes and drives into the driveway and just getting out of the car and unpacking drops food, the ants will just sort of appear, and they will track those humans in from the driveway, which is right out here, into the house. I'm talking specifically about this property, but that's with any property. They'll track them into the house or up to the structure. They'll climb up into the structure, and once those ants traverse into this property, they leave a pheromone trail. Most people who work in that industry understand that, or people who have researched it. They leave a trail for other ants. So it is a really difficult fight, and it's one of those things that if you're traveling, you have to understand the risks of this. Yes, the owner needs to be aware of it and do everything they can to prevent it. But in the end, it's not completely preventable, because it can sometimes be caused by your guests, and they don't know it, and they don't believe you when you tell them that. But it can happen very quickly, as is the case with these guests we had. So I just want to tell you a few important things. One is, again, the food. And here's the funny thing: when I came here and inspected, I cannot find ants, because in this particular case, it was two young ladies who were staying here, and they didn't report to us that they had a problem with ants for almost 2 days. So they checked in on Wednesday, and my wife had cleaned from the prior guest Wednesday morning. They checked in Wednesday afternoon. My wife didn't see any ants. She cleans very thoroughly, and Wednesday afternoon, magically, supposedly, ants appeared. They told us. So we suspect that maybe the ants didn't appear until a while after they had started inhabiting our space. And so they waited 2 nights. 2 days. They waited till late at night to contact us and say the ants were a problem, and they also contacted the company that we rent through, which in this case is Airbnb. And we told them, it's good. My wife responded within 4 minutes. That's how quickly she responded. She just got the notification and responded right away and said that I would be out there the next morning. They simultaneously contacted Airbnb, which is kind of like calling the cops, about ants. We told them there's no reason to call Airbnb unless we don't address the problem. If you have a bad host, then you contact Airbnb. But we responded within 4 minutes. So I came, I treated, I saw ants outside, but I didn't see any ants when I came inside. One of the girls let me in, but I treated inside nonetheless. And so here I am today looking for ants. Told my neighbor jokingly, man, I'll give you $10 for any ant you can find in here, because my treatment stopped, not only killed any ants that might have been indoors, but it stopped the progression. It stopped them from coming in because I treated every contact with the ground. I'm up off of the ground in this trailer, and there are pilings underneath, and I sprayed all 4 sides of every piling. I sprayed the tires and the tie downs. But look what I found. I don't know if you can see this. I found food on the sofa. This piece here was right up under here. So they were eating around the space, and we ask people not to eat on the furniture, but they do, and it's not a big deal. But then to complain about the ants, and she said they were coming. She said the third day, she said they were coming in from behind the sofa, that thing. So we had told them, look, you waited too long to let us know. It would have been way better for us to come and strike the first sign, instead of you sleeping for 2 nights with ants. And they said they wanted money back. They wanted a day and a half, and we said, well, we're not willing to do that because you didn't let us know about the problem, and you want to be compensated for a problem that you let go on. What we'll do is, just to make nice, we'll give you $50, a $50 refund, a credit. And they rejected that, and they fought, and Airbnb said, no, you're not in violation. I gave them evidence that I came out and addressed the problem. You really have to be on top of these problems, and I just wanted to go through this in detail in case you're hosting or in case you're a guest. If you're a guest etiquette. Just observe simple guest etiquette. You can get really bum hosts that don't give a damn about you or your comfort. In this case, we really care because we travel and we know how it is, and we're empathetic. So we were Johnny on the spot for them. That wasn't good enough. They failed at every turn. Every time we would communicate back with them, we wouldn't hear back from them all day. So basically what they were doing was they would complain at night. Then we would say, okay, well, we're going to take care of this for you, no problem. And then they would go to the beach in the morning. They'd be out all day, and then they'd call back the next night. We're still seeing ants. And we were saying, can you send pictures? They didn't send any pictures. I had come out and I didn't find one ant. We understand they could have been ants, but they just weren't doing it the right way. They were being combative, non-communicative, demanding, and just generally unfriendly about it. And you want to help people. If they had been true victims, we would have refunded everything. So suffice it to say, you are going to have problems. It's how you deal with those problems. If you are ant phobic, you're going to have a miserable time in the summer when you're traveling in the South, because if it rains heavily, ants will go climb up into things where they can find dryness, not even looking for food, and they'll get past barriers, and it will occur. We've had them in our house. You ask anybody out in this campground, they'll tell you it's a nonstop fight. So it's just how you deal with it. And you could either say, stuff happens, or you can say, I'm suing, I want my money back, and blah, 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 but expect a fight. But be a good host if you're a host and do the best you can. You can put out bait traps, which it's kind of like, I don't know about that, because then you're putting bait, you're putting something that attracts ants to kill ants. So best to treat everything that makes contact with the ground. If you're in a trailer, that's kind of an easier thing to treat something that's up above ground, because you can treat everything that contacts the ground. If you're in a building that's on the ground with a crawl space, it's kind of hard to get up under it, etc. But you do your best with the bait traps. I went around the whole place with borax. I did a barrier with borax. Again, sprayed every side of every contact underneath. And I did borax at certain areas around the property where the car was. And I did granules, which kill red ants. And again, can't find any ants. So I just wanted to share that experience with you who are either hosts or guests. Take it easy. We all just have to get along, and we have to deal with nature. Sometimes nature happens. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. And again, check out the crumbs that they left for the ants. Now that the guests are gone, the ants are gone. Isn't that ironic?